Tennessee has so many historical sites that could be easy to overlook some of these hidden gems, like Oaklands Mansion in Murfreesboro. Next up, Rob Wiles is going to explore this Tennessee treasure and at the same time discover some unique wedding history.
If you had been making a tour of grand homes back just before the Civil War, this one would have been on the list. This is Oakland Plantation in Murfreesboro, originally owned by Lewis and Adeline Manny, saved from the wrecking ball in the 1950s and made into a museum. Mary Beth Nevels is the education director here, who is always happy to greet visitors.
They're going to see the house as it would have been in the 1860s, the way that Rachel Adeline had decorated it and maybe set for entertaining. They're going to see the furnishings from the period, along with portraits on the walls, her personal china on the table. Well, we've got portraits of Lewis and Adeline, and it's always interesting when you can look at portraits from the time period, because in portrait reading you can look at, what are they holding and what are they wearing, and so you can get an idea for the clothing and the background for the time period. So all of the portraits are interesting for that reason.
Lots of interesting objects here, like a close look at Dr. Manny's medical gear, or an infant's cradle with sides that could be lowered, and of course many beautiful pieces of furniture.
Well, about 30% of the furnishings are Manny family pieces. They've been donated back through the years by the Manny family descendants. The other 70% have been acquired through estate sales or donated throughout the years. They're not original to the family, but they are original to the time period and maybe even the region.
When you've made it through all 14 interesting rooms in the house, you're still not finished. Right next door is a separate building where rotating exhibits are on view. When we visited, more than 50 wedding gowns were here.
They're organized by decade, and the oldest dress on exhibit is 1847.
And this is it?
This is it.
Now what can you tell me about this dress, this 1847
Well, this
dress?
sweet little dress was worn by a lady in our community by her grandmother. It was worn in 1847 and again in 1907, both weddings in New York.
Not the same woman twice?
Not the same woman, no.
Might have to be altered.
Yeah.
Brides or members of their families loaned these dresses for the exhibit. Christy Robinson wore hers on
February 24th, 1996.
Christy's dress was made by family and friends to her specification. She wanted lots of bling for a special day. With every dress, of course, there are memories.
I just remember putting on the dress and just feeling so beautiful and like a princess. And my husband and I, we didn't believe in luck, so he got to see me before the wedding. So we had this really special meeting in this room where we got to see each other, and I just remember him looking at me and just saying how beautiful I was in the dress. So that's probably my most vivid memory.
Kate Kennedy wore her dress on.
It was July the 20th, 1985.
Kate found just the right dress for her in a store after looking through dozens of them. She remembers being a bit anxious about her dress when she and her naval officer husband went through the traditional Arch of Swords.
And you come down the steps and you're stopped and share a kiss, and then as you proceed to exit the arch, one military member whacks you on the behind and welcomed me to the Navy. And I was just glad he didn't rip my dress, because I did worry that he might.
With his sword, he just gently sort of whacks you?
Yes. He says, "Welcome to the Navy, Mrs. Kennedy."
Dresses tell stories about the people who owned them and the times they lived in, stories to be shared.
And I have a daughter now. I had 3 sons and finally had a little girl, and she was excited when I told her they had asked me to display it, and she says, "Oh, I can't wait to wear your dress." And so that was really wonderful to me. So just to be a part of the exhibit is very exciting. I love it. I was very pleased to be asked.
And houses, like the Oaklands Mansion, have their exciting stories to tell too.
To our community, this house is a way for us to share the history of our area with especially the young people coming up today. It's a perfect example of preservation, and it's a way for them to see a time period with no electricity and no batteries. And there's no other place that you can do that. You just can't get a feel for that in the classroom or at home, because we are so intertwined with our electronics. So for them to come here and get an idea for, a child's life back then, and the tasks and the chores and how they lived, it's a great piece of living history.